There was music playing faintly behind him. He thought it was violin. It could have been a number of other grating, stringed instruments that he'd hated having to learn. He couldn't be sure without looking. His eyes slid through the crowd, cutting through all unfamiliar faces who he would never have to see again after tonight, and focusing in on one person leaning over a balcony. He coughed a little to himself, face hidden behind a fan with intricate wave patterns stitched into them. He had to get into character. Athos Youngblood was the daughter of a failed convert, but she had taken to religion with great reverence. She hoped to eventually lose the pronouns, but not until it was proper to do so. She wanted her name to be known, and she was willing to do just about anything to do it. And right now, she had her eyes on a gardener right in front of her. Ythade, the kind. They were probably a Triton, but first routed off of them in the worst kind of ways, looking like green ringworms that circled around any distinct features. She wrinkled her nose like a wannabe high-class woman she was, and approached, quickly dropping the fan and bowing her head ever so slightly, with a smirk on her face. Only ever so slightly. Respectful, but tantalizing. An invitation and a challenge, all at once. "Is there something I can help you with?" they asked with a slight lisp from the shifting, circular fur across their skin. Their eyes were slow as they glanced her over. Would have been unsettling if it wasn't exactly what she was after. They'd tossed out their last 7 partners, all exactly a day before the 1 year later. They were on the prowl for a new one, she knew. That's the only reason she'd come here, after all. "Oh, nothing. Just wanted to see the sights," she said, pulling the smirk a little wider as she carefully didn't glance at the gorgeous view out the balcony, instead copying them, moving her eyes up and down their body. She was suddenly very thankful for all of her training. They laughed, muted and soft. "Very bold of you." "Well, I have to be these days," she shot back to make sure to keep the snarky yet regal charm on. It had a type, after all. "Where are you from?" "Here." She let some breathy laughter seep in, not quite liking the way it settled in her chest, but not being able to do anything about it. "My mother was from..." She let sadness color her features now, a dainty, pitiful thing that she quickly covered up with the flick of her fan. "Quite a long time to stay in one place." They were talking lower now, almost a whisper as they stood far too close for their first conversation. "Are you offering to show me something new?" She leaned back towards them, smelling the alcohol on their breath and fluttering her lashes, perfectly placed makeup disguising any form of foreign pleasure from her skin. "I can if you want." They trailed off, and there was somewhat of a crowd around the balcony as more people were drawn in by the view. "But let's take this somewhere more private, shall we?" "It would be my pleasure," she said, thinking about how ridiculously easy it was to seduce someone here. They walked, talking in low tones, but Athos could run on autopilot now. Now it was Meyer's time to think, to plan, to... His vision started to blur. No, that was not the time. But there was nothing he could do, as he heard the echoes of his body's laughter much sharper now than it should have been, and his mind faded away. It was a land made of tall trees in which he awoke. There was blood on his hands and mouth. It was amazing. Life couldn't have been better, is what he thought as he savored the taste. There was music in the background once more, this time definitely violin, played by someone who had never touched one before, and it screeched at his ears, but all he could do was laugh. That's another wrong note. His laughter brought tears to his eyes. He hated it. No, that's wrong. He loved it. Everything was amazing. A boy no older than 12 was playing a violin made of rich wood and was crying and babbling as he stepped forward and cut off another toe of his older sister, probably 20 or something, before throwing it in the air and swallowing. Nothing could beat the satisfying crunch. Well, almost nothing, anyways. She screamed, but soon enough that turned into pained laughter too. And so did the boy's babbling. Everything was laughter and joy, blinding obliteration, jubilation, and glee. Not happiness, though. Very truly that. A woman walked into the room. She was an elf with a no-nonsense look around her, despite the blood that covered the chain she pulled alongside her. She looked important, like many of the people he had met before. Serious, well-kept, and something he absolutely fucking hated. He wanted to rip her apart to hear what her bones sounded like under his fangs, but the thoughts were consumed by hysterical laughter soon after. Andres, she said to him without a trace of humor in her eyes. Matthias wants to see you. Her voice cut out as his mind began to drift again. Oh, come on, it was just getting to the good part. When Mayor came back to the present, Ythod was dead in his bed, stripped from their clothes and their circular fur with only one spot remaining, painted on with their own green blood, a circle over the stab wound in their neck. There was a bite mark taken out from it. He brought his hand up to his face, where something sticky and warm and red trickled down it. He licked it clean, ignoring the laughter that bubbled up from his gut and the memories of a boy made to learn music, for the party taking a finger for every mistake, then a toe, then... He didn't want to know. All he needed to know now was that there was no way in hell he was going to be able to frame this as a suicide after they got a note from a long-lost lover. Touching up Atha's makeup and clawing to get bits of blood off his chin, he changed into a backup set of servant's clothes and left through the kitchen. He felt numb, or at least that's what he wanted to feel until he got out of there. And so he did, keeping all of his feelings down until he came to an empty, quiet shoreline and couldn't hold it in any longer. He laughed long and hard as he felt fangs that weren't there before at his lips. And tonight went perfectly. He killed his target and even got a name from his memories, one of his first leads, and yet, he wouldn't last much longer. Not against this. And what would happen when this didn't feel like a curse anymore? He needed to solve this faster, and he couldn't do that alone. He looked at his teeth one final time. It was time to find backup.
The ambient sounds in this episode are thanks to Syrinscape. Be sure to check them out at Syrinscape.com. Thank you for listening.